Welcome to the... Hey. Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday evening. It is an unusual time for me, but that's okay. How's it going, Heat? But that's okay, we still got lots to cover. The news doesn't stop just because, the news doesn't stop just because I didn't do the show on the morning, right? How's it going, Heat? Amazing. Nice to see you too. Thank you so much for hanging out here. I know it's a bit of a weird time, but that's okay. How's work? Well, work is work, so that's work is work. I'm just glad that hey, Hildebeest, a nighttime stream. Yes, indeed. A nighttime stream. It is very unusual. Not really my schedule, but I had to do a quick switcheroo. Are you on a panel? No, I'm not on a panel. I do my best to kind of hang out here on my little space. It is incredibly rare for me to be on a panel. It's just that I had to do a little switcheroo in the morning, so instead of the usual AM stream, I just swapped it for 12 hours later. That's it. I just pulled a fast one on chat. That's what happened. I'm hardly on panels as well. I like it that way. Yeah. I think it's I don't know. My personal opinion. I like it that way. But yeah, I pulled a little fast one on chat and just made it in the PM instead of AM. There's a couple of shoutouts. Please chat if you haven't already. Make sure you check out the folks in chat. The hardest working mod on Twitch, Hildebeest, Hilda_beast, and Heat420_ is only one follow away from 50. Okay, can we help with that? Just one follow, one from 50, just one. That's it. Help out these wonderful folks. If you see a diamond in chat, please go make sure you check them out. Oh yeah, of course. You can play off people's you can play off what people say, but it depends on who is there. So it just depends. Like I don't know. Me and in terms of like actively participating in like a panel, like just going on panels, I don't know. It's just not me. It's very rare that I do go on, or if I do, it is incredibly rare. It's not my style. There we go. That's the proper word. It's not my style, I should say. You also, you're awesome. Thank you for the shout out, of course. I'm glad you made it to 50. Yeah, just that's it. I don't know if it already happened, but if it did, because I remember seeing that you said I think it was on, where did I see that? Was it on Discord, or did you post that in the last stream? I forget. I don't know. my photographic memory is it's bootlegged photographic memory, so I know I saw it somewhere. I just don't know where. So I don't know if you posted it in chat. I don't know if you posted it on Discord, on your server, on my server. I don't know. So either way, I know I saw it somewhere, and I knew to remember. I'm always flapping my mouth on Discord. That's all good. Okay, so it must have been on Discord. I knew. Checking my email to see if I made it. Hey, it might take a sec. It might take a sec. Well, congratulations. You definitely, with that 50 follow plus the 3 viewer average, I'm sure that it is more than ready. I'm number 50? No way. Thank you so much, Hilda Beast. I appreciate that. Showing some love. Thank you so much. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Alright, folks. We do have some headlines. There's no rush today. Alright, there's no rush. There's no me having to log into work immediately. So there's no rush. We're just gonna take it slow as long as we get through it, right? As long as we get through the headlines, it's okay. We can take it slow, we can hang out. Leave no comrade behind, comrade follows comrades. True. True. Alrighty, we got I think that this is just gonna be a mold session, I guess, because yes, it needs to continue to be pointed out. Cheers. Because this needs to continue to be pointed out. I mean, as long as there's a chance, then we need to fight, right? But first, before we get into the mold session, Marjorie Taylor Greene invested as much as $50,000. $50,000 in the Trump SPAC before its stock plunged. Uh-oh. Womp womp. Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene bought as much as $50,000 worth of shares in a shell company that is merging with former President Trump's new media venture, according to financial disclosure form. Greene, a Republican and Trump supporter with a history of conspiracy theories, true. Not to, up to and including, insinuating the asinine claim of something Jewish space lasers. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Ooh, ADT at night. That's right, Skiddadeer. We're doing it in the PM today. You're gonna make partners soon? Oh man, I hope so. That would be nice. That would be nice. What do you think, chat? You think that's a possibility? Hey, Alley Cat, how's it going? I love it. Nice. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad that we're able to hang out here at night. It's a rare occasion. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this will be something that we can do more often. Skiddadeer subscribing with a prime. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Normally I would be against lawmakers buying stocks, but this time I'm not. You'll love to see it. Thank you. I appreciate your support. Hey, Alley Cat. Howdy, howdy. Yeah. Just to be clear, I'm still, again, just to be clear, like, I understand misinformation works, but still, I was going to bring up the point that, like, this still doesn't excuse, you know, senators, representatives, anyone in Congress or in elected capacity should own any single stock period, as long as they're in public office. ADT for president? What? Let's do it. I want to be president. I should be president. Yeah. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't know the first thing. Green, a Republican, a Trump supporter with a history of conspiracy theories, bought shares of Digital World Acquisition Corp on Friday when they were skyrocketing to breathtaking levels. So she was a victim of like what essentially would be like the Bitcoin, well, not the Bitcoin, the those altcoin kind of schemes, or the GameStop kind of schemes where they inflate the numbers and then they like short sell, and then whoever gets stuck, and whoever ran away with the money makes it. And I think that she was not one of those people. When they were skyrocketing to breathtaking levels, days later, the Trump SPAC, Special Purpose Acquisition Company, plunged in value. Yeah, anything this guy touches kind of just like bombs. So yeah. The disclosure form dated on Tuesday indicated that Green purchased between 15,001 and 50,000 worth of shares. The form does not say what price Green acquired the shares at, but she is very likely to lose money on the trade, at least on paper. News of purchase were previously reported by CongressTrading.com, which tracks trading activity by politicians. Last week, Trump Media and Technology Group, chaired by the former president, said it would launch a new social media platform to stand up to the tyranny of big tech. The media company agreed to combine with Digital World Acquisition Corp, a blank check company that exists solely to take private firms public through what's known as an SPAC, which is, they stated here, Special Purpose Acquisition Company. Shares of Digital World quadrupled in the first day of trading after the deal was announced. By Friday, the Trump SPAC climbed as high as 175, a staggering 1,657% above its Wednesday closing price. That was the day Green bought the shares. The Trump SPAC attracted interest from traders at Wall Street Bets, the Reddit page behind the rise of the GameStop. The short, the big short, I guess. But the rally quickly fizzled. Digital World fell 11% on Monday and then lost 30% on Tuesday. Its current trading around 65, down by 2/3 from last week's peak. It's not clear how much Green has lost so far on the Trump SPAC bet. On the day Green made the trade, the Digital World Acquisition Corp traded in very wide range from 67.96 to 175 at best. The investment would be in the red, slightly compared with current trading levels. Despite their sway over federal policy, members of Congress are allowed to trade stocks, though they may not use non-public information for personal benefit. Yeah, but like, how do you test that? How do you know? How do you know that this person isn't using some insider information, or how do you know that? That she wasn't influenced by something that she heard or that she was a part of, in terms of like what she does as a congressperson, or the information that she gets as a congressperson. There's just no way there's no way that there can't be like a bias, like a potential for bias, right? Like, there's just no way. Ooh, that's getting too close to the sun there, Icarus. That's getting way too close to the sun there, Icarus. Yeah, like how do we test to make sure that a person isn't using their own personal biases or anything like that? The best thing to do is just not allow it in the first place. That's it. The best thing to do is just not allow it in the first place, right? Like, period, full stop. Will MTG win her seat? Is her seat safe? I think her seat is safe, isn't it? It's a pretty red district. I don't see her losing her seat, unfortunately. I think the thing to worry about is more kind of QAnon America First, Trumper, Republican kind of deal start getting elected into more positions of power, specifically when it comes to the local, state, and to local and state is where I think that we should have eyes open. Heat 420 gifting a tier 1 to misinformation. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. They've 12 subs in this channel. You've gifted 12 subs. Can you imagine? I really do appreciate the support. Thank you. I do not believe that as a matter of sound ethic policies, member of Congress should be permitted to trade in individual stocks, Trump stocks or otherwise. True, said Norm Meeson, a CNN legal analyst and senior fellow in governance studies at the Brookings Institution. That's because the nature of their work can influence their investments. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, like, I don't see how it can't. I don't see how it can't. I mean, like, I don't know. I would say to just like eliminate it completely. Just no trading of stocks or anything like that. Sorry. Period. Although trades like greens are allowed, Eisen said they raise thorny ethical issues. Yeah, of course. It opens up questions like, is she shaping her opposition to the January 6th committee to burnish the Trump brand and increase the value of her stock? Eisen said we shouldn't have to ask those kind of questions. Yeah, I mean, like, again, period, full stop. There should be no type of stock trading or anything of the sort. No problem. I wanted to do it last time we were in chat, but you ducked out before I could do it. I'm slightly optimistic that there's a... I do appreciate that, Heat. I'm slightly optimistic that there's a bigger rift among Republican voters, but it's diminished every time I see the Democrats are left propaganda. Well, the thing is, like, there is a faction of Republican voters that are not okay with the way the party's going, and most of those folks, I know it's a small faction, but out of that faction, the majority of those folks are, I think, moving to more libertarian, in my opinion, from what I understand, because they feel like the GOP is lost. It's a lost cause. I know it's a minority, but out of that minority, there's a big portion of that is just going libertarian, and that's it. Yeah, I get that same impression. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel things out, or how I've seen things play out. So, I mean, but still, I think that Trump has a good grip. Hey, I swear the AI for... I think the AI is called Bixby. Pops up every time I say anything remotely close to that, and it's really creepy. Stop listening to me. Anyways, so I think that that's kind of what's happening, but Trump has such a strong hold on the majority of the GOP voter base because of the evangelicals. That's it. I think that that's kind of like what's holding it all together. IPO Watcher said the spike was highly unusual, especially because little is known about the Trump venture. The latest filings do not indicate how much revenue, if any, Trump Media and Technology Group generates, but it's likely to be minimal because the new social media platform has not launched yet. And for those of you that don't know, one of the first things that happened was that they were issued some type of a notice to either make the source code available or take their site down. Here, let me see if I can pull it up. The site hasn't even launched yet, and there's already like a problem with it. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Skitterdeer. I see you. I see you. I think my tweets are bangers. Oh, here we are. Yeah, Trump's social network has 30 days to stop breaking the rules of its software license. They basically used an open source platform called Mastodon, and they were supposed to give credit, obviously, and make the source code available. But because they didn't, they were served what essentially is like a, I guess they were asked to cease and desist. Not legally, but I'm saying that they asked the Trump website to stop or make its source code open. Either one. But yeah, I think that's pretty funny. Hasn't even launched yet. SPAC merger announcements normally contain financial projections on details on the planned capital structure, but yet the Trump deal included none of that, offering investors a press release that blasted big tech and an investor presentation with no estimates on revenue. Oh man. Tina! How's it going? Oh wow, it is a late night stream. I generally don't do this, but I generally don't do this, but I had to kind of do the switcheroo earlier. So here we are. I'm glad you're hanging out. Everybody go to follow twitch.tv/Tina_2. A lot of friendly folks. It is indeed a party. Cultists love cult, no lie. Cultists love to cult, no lie. They're true. So yeah, something tells me that this is yet another one of Donald Trump's very intricate cons coming out, coming into fruition. Check this out. Yet the Trump deal included none of that, offering investors a press release that blasted big tech and an investor presentation with no estimates on revenue. And before, so basically, you're supposed to woo investors with a little note that says, "Trust me, bro." That's it. That's it. Trump businesses have filed for bankruptcies, all focused on the casinos he used to own in Atlantic City. The last Trump IPO took place in 1995 when Trump hotels and casino resorts went public. The casino company lost money every year, and it was public and filed for bankruptcy a decade later. Yeah, this smells like another con. This smells like another con. I mean, this is his MO. This is his MO, so it wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. Yeah, Firefest. Exactly. Anyways, TLDR, I think the story, I think the best takeaway is, the big takeaway from this is no representative, no elected official should be holding any type of stocks or shouldn't be engaging in any type of investor trading in whatever it is at all, period, full stop. If they have executive rules in place like emoluments clause and things like that, then that should apply, like those type of rules should apply across the board, period. I just don't see a reason why a representative who's getting paid six figures needs to be engaging in any type of investing. Period. I just don't think that a public servant, a representative who gets six figures, should not be engaging in anything like this whatsoever. Alright, it's time. Paid leave falls out of Democratic package in urgent scramble to secure Manchin support. Why? Oh man, I mean, like, to be honest, this is kind of effed, isn't it? It's done. It's kind of effed, isn't it? Right? If you think about it. This entire thing is kind of effed. The entire Build Back Better agenda, the entire budget reconciliation thing, it's kind of effed, isn't it? Because, like, President Joe Manchin can already do whatever he wants. It was, like, that's it. He can do whatever he wants, and there's nothing stopping him. Democrats are expected to scrap paid family leave and medical leave from their cornerstone economic and climate package. Well, it's none of them. It's actually neither of these things now. Wait, you can't call it an economic and climate package when the core parts of the economic and the core parts of the climate package is done. It's gone. It's done. It's over. I mean, like, you can't... It's unbelievable. True. Ones paid by the public sector, especially those paid for life positions, should be barred from private. It's just riddled with criminal loopholes and exploitation. Yeah, clearly. Roads and bridges. Well, I'm not disputing the fact that that's necessary, but that was already like, that was already kind of like agreed upon, right? From a very different era. 100 years ago, politics and society was different. Having stocks wasn't as easy. It wasn't as widespread. It often wasn't as influential too. Yeah, but like, not now things are like a little bit different, right? We should probably change that. That's happening with Manchin now with the coal refineries. How he was able to control the votes. The union isn't even allowed to quit on their own accord. Yikes. Hey, James Napper. Yeah. So yeah, no, you're right. It is different, but that would kind of go to my point, right? It is because it's different. I think that we should move. We should move in the direction of just kind of putting safety guardrails to make sure that people don't use that information to pocket, to line their pockets. Discarding one of the central planks of President Joe Biden's proposal as they scramble to strike a deal with holdout senators, according to multiple people familiar with the talks. The plan's survival has been in question for several days due to objections from President Joe Manchin, a West Virginia Democrat. Biden's initial 12-week proposal was scaled back to 4 weeks in an effort to secure Manchin's support. That was rejected, leading to an effort by New York Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand that attempted to find compromise with Manchin. That has not succeeded. One of the people said, prompting Democrats to push it out of the package as they seek to scale back the proposal's overall costs and programs to meet Manchin's demand. Why is he the one getting to be in this position? Like, I don't understand. It should be day and night, a constant bombardment in the airwaves about how President Joe Manchin has decided to cut seniors' Medicare expansion, cut seniors from the preventative care that they need for eyeglasses, dental care, and hearing aids. Also, Joe Manchin is the reason why younger kids in college won't get the two-year college. Joe Manchin is the reason why parents won't get the child tax credit extended. Joe Manchin is the reason why paid family leave, medical leave isn't happening. Like, the airwaves need to be 24/7 about this. Nothing else needs to be talked about except this, in terms of, like, if you really want to kind of hammer this down. I mean, in West Virginia, this has to be like a constant bombardment. And of course, I mean, I feel like I need to continue to talk about this in case, any folks in West Virginia, or if you know anybody in West Virginia, to spread the word that President Joe Manchin is the reason why these things aren't happening. That has not succeeded, some of the people said, prompting Democrats to push it out. Okay, yes. Manchin has made it clear that he would not move when asked about the provision on Wednesday, saying, "I just can't do it." Wait, what do you mean you just can't do it? You absolutely can just do it. I don't get it. You can absolutely just do it. I don't get it. Joe Manchin has made millions from coal. His ties are now... Oh, yeah. Oh, related article. Huh. Related article. Nice meme. Last year, he made more than $491,000 from his Enersystems holdings. The filing show that's more than twice his $174,000 annual Senate salary. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. To expand social programs when you have trust funds that aren't solvent, they're going insolvent. I can't explain that. Wait, what? Doesn't make sense to me. I want to work with everyone as long as we can start paying for things. Wait. There's probably a few other Dems that are glad Manchin has no empathy. Yeah, this might be the weed talking, but he's perfect excuse. Sure, he's looking like the devil, but I'm convinced that the Dems don't really want to accomplish anything. Maybe. But the fact that, that may be, but we need to expose that. In order for us to expose that, this guy needs to come on board. Because if he comes on board, then what's the excuse? They're gonna have to either fall in line or come out of the woodwork. There's probably a few other Dems that are glad Manchin has no empathy. I wouldn't be surprised, but you gotta knock that down, don't you? You gotta kind of knock that facade down. I don't get this. I want to work with everyone as long as we can start paying for things. Wait. How do you think... Wait. Why is this never... Why is this never a question when we start talking about, like, the military budget? Why is this never a question when we start giving away goodies to multinational corporations, to the large corporations? Right? Tax breaks. Tax credits. Free money to the wealthy. Why is that never a question? Oh, how are we going to pay for this? It doesn't make any sense. This statement right here is like unironically triggering me. I can't, this is like the most old, overplayed trope. This is literally the most overplayed trope. I can't put this burden on my grandchildren. I've got 10 grandchildren. I just can't do it. Hey, you know what else would be a massive burden? If your 10 grandchildren don't have a... Okay. If your 10 grandchildren don't have a habitable planet, that might be a tiny bit of a burden, and it's going to be you who's going to have to explain to them why you did the decisions or the indecisions. It's you that is going to have to explain to your grandchildren why you made the decisions, or indecisions I should say. You are the one that's going to have to explain to your grandchildren, to your 10 grandchildren, why you voted the way you did, why you torpedoed incredibly important climate legislation. Explain that to them. Yeah, but carbon capture will save us all. This kind of bullshit, this kind of shit works on those who don't pay attention. This sounds absolutely asinine to us. True. Yeah, exactly. Hey, you know, this might be a bit of a burden to some folks, but you kind of need a working, clean environment to live. I know it's a bit of a shocker to everybody, but yeah. So the only burden you're putting on your grandchildren is a miserable future. Your grandchildren and possibly their children are gonna have a miserable existence because of you. And then you're going to have to explain that to them. But each move toward Manchin also risks alienating progressives, and dropping paid leave, which has been viewed as a cornerstone piece of the proposal, adds another complication for the White House and Democratic leaders as they seek to unify the party over the course of the next few hours. No. The Democratic Party is more or less, on the face, pretty united. It seems to me like the repeating offenders are very well known. The repeating offenders seem to be President Joe Manchin and Madam President Kyrsten Sinema. That's not an ununified party. That's a that's a undemocratic institution falling apart. That's what's happening. Gillibrand, it's an undemocratic institution that's broken. That's literally what's happening. Gillibrand told on CNN Wednesday the afternoon she's still working to convince Manchin to support the inclusion of paid leave. Imagine having to like beg and fight for paid leave, something that's like basically a par for the course everywhere else. Paid leave, maternity leave. This is unbelievable to me. I'm confident that our natural immunity will fight climate change. True. Well, you're up late. True. Hey, BPCL. I am doing a late night stream because, of course, I wasn't able to do the stream in the morning. Don't worry, we'll be back. We'll be back to normal hours. Or, I don't know, maybe I should add a late night stream once in a while. Is Joe Manchin just trying to be relevant? Why doesn't he get kicked out of the party? I don't know, because they claim that they need that 50th vote, which is true, but they kind of dropped it. They kind of dropped the ball on this one. They literally just letting him do whatever he wants. There's no like. They're just letting. They're just like letting him do whatever he wants. That's it. She described the reports that is completely out as definitively premature. Nah, I think that he needs as much pressure as possible. He hasn't signed off on it. Yeah, because if you don't put pressure on him, then he's not going to do it. He hasn't signed off on my recent proposal, so it's not yet agreed to, but I'm not giving up, and I'm not going to give up until the deal's signed. But Manchin suggested on Wednesday evening that paid family leave and medical leave doesn't belong in the Democrats' reconciliation bill at all. Okay, then where, President Joe Manchin? Where would you like it? Huh? Where the like it? Huh? Holy yikes. The West Virginia lawmaker told CNN that Democrats should be examining all this stuff, but to put it in a reconciliation bill major policy is not the place to do it. Then how do you plan to pass this? How do you plan to pass this? In what world? In what world are you going to plan to pass this other than a budget reconciliation bill? How do you think Republicans got all the goodies that they wanted? All the tax breaks and all that awesome goodies that they gave away to the corporations? How do you think they did it? How do you think Republicans did it? Relying on the goodwill? No. They set out to do an agenda and they got it done. Manchin might lead the party, but it won't make any practical difference. I don't think he's joining Republicans. Yeah, I don't know. It seems to me like those are rumors, unconfirmed rumors. So we'll see. We still have another reconciliation bill and 3 more next year, but they all require Manchin. Yeah, we might have another reconciliation bill, but the time is on. The time is not on our side. Yeah, they don't want to win, clearly. The time is not on our side. We've got midterms coming up. Well, the Democratic Party has midterms coming up in next year, right? All of this like campaigning and you know, the groundwork for campaigning and all these other stuff starts to happen more or less towards the end of this year, and it starts to kick off as 2022, right? And well, then what are you going to do? Manchin is literally the most powerful man in DC. Yeah, that's why I call him President Joe Manchin. I still don't understand any of this if he ultimately is against the sub-60 votes. Yeah, by eliminating reconciliation only needs 50 votes. It's meant to protect the core operation of the government from the filibuster. Yeah, which is really weird to me. My guess is that after he gets the bill where he wants it, he's still gonna just say, I need 10 good Republicans. Oh man, I'm gonna like I'm gonna like throw a rage fit if that happens. Eliminating the filibuster only requires 50 votes, but we don't have 50 votes for that. True. This is just ridiculous. I am just saying we have to be careful with what we're doing if we're doing it. If we're going to do it right. Okay, but that's not this, okay? Doing it right is not this. The White House officials have warned for several days that paid leave proposals could be cut from the package despite Biden's strong support for them, but despite the push by congressional Dems to find a path to keep it, the proposal becomes the latest element to hit the cutting room floor, joining free tuition. Oh, hey, look, we got a list of all the stuff that Joe Manchin has to look at voters in West Virginia in the eyes and tell them, we're not doing free tuition community college for 2 years. We're not doing the whole like tax rate increase. We're not doing the clean energy performance program. We're not doing any of that. The decisions underscore Biden's and Democratic leaders' clear urgency to lock in an agreement that can pass muster with Manchin and Sinema and move it as quickly as possible. After an Oval meeting with Biden on Tuesday night and a subsequent 2-hour meeting with his top negotiators in the Capitol, the sides were nearing an agreement. People familiar with the talk say it. But whether the agreement would maintain the support of the broader House and the Senate Democratic caucuses has remained an open question. The president is working with everybody now. Manchin said this evening that's not a whole lot to say. Everybody's working really hard. Yeah, I don't know about that. Eliminating, yes, as long as the House doesn't pass the first bill, they'll pass something. Yeah, well, what a tool. Fend for yourselves, everybody. Yeah, basically, you get effed, and you get effed, and you get effed. Key elements including free universal preschool, childcare expansion, a fully refundable 1-year extension of the child tax credit, 3 years of the expanded Affordable Care Act premiums, and housing subsidies will all appear likely to land in a final package. People familiar with the the child tax credits are in play. People familiar with the negotiations said the climate portion of the package, even without the CEPP, is expected to include more than $500 billion of the tax incentives and credits, along with substantial loan and grant programs to reduce emissions. That's not good enough. The core of the CEPP is the greatest part of lowering emissions that we had. Medicare expansion for dental, vision, and hearing, which progressives have made clear needs to be in the proposal, continues to be a contentious issue. Yeah, sorry, seniors. Apparently, dental care, vision, and hearing are a very contentious issue. Apparently, they're a very contentious issue. Sorry. Continues to be a contentious issue as negotiators seek to address the competing positions of Manchin and Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont Independent, who caucuses with Democrats. Sanders met with Biden at the White House on Wednesday afternoon. Democrats are also attempting to thread the needle in an effort to address what Democrats identify as a healthcare coverage gap created by the 12 states that chose not to accept Medicaid expansion under the Affordable Care Act. Manchin has objected to earlier proposals to address the coverage gap, leading supporters to craft an effort that would attempt to get at the issue without subsidizing private insurers. I mean, or hear me out. You could just lay out the groundwork for universal healthcare systems instead of worrying about all these like bandages to gunshot wounds, right? All these roundabout solutions that just do about nothing. Okay? The root of the problem is the fact that private insurance is a thing. Period. The best solution, since it's already here, is to have people that are in the coverage gap be able to get marketplace insurance, or again, just move in the direction of a universal healthcare system. Okay, just move in the direction of a superior plan, a more effective, economical plan. That's it. I don't get it. I'm not saying that it has to just like Thanos snap and like it's done. I'm saying that lay the groundwork So that, like, even just using the Bernie Sanders plan where he just gradually lowers the age of Medicare. And that's it. Just lay down the groundwork to eliminate all of these problems. Holy shit. Baldwin said the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which would have run Medicaid expansion program, considered the proposal, told lawmakers that it would take at least 3 years to get it going, so the delayed timing combined with Manchin's aversion to expanding federal programs before shoring up existing ones presented major challenges to the initial plan. Baldwin said she thinks Manchin, who's an essential vote, is more comfortable with this plan. Everything's not totally worked out, but this is something familiar to him. What? Yet Democrats are in the midst of a significant debate over how to finance the ultimate cost of the proposal, which sources said negotiators were pushing to land at $1.75 trillion. Remember, the original plan was $6 million. The compromise was 3.5, and now we're at 1.75. Again, over 10 years. Sourcing support, how's it going? Late night ADT poggers. Indeed it is poggers. Indeed it is poggers. One would think, one could also say it is super poggers. Sinema's objection to raising the marginal tax rates on corporations and the wealthy have set off a scramble to identify a new revenue stream with a 15% corporate minimum tax, drawing support to go along with the 15% global minimum tax and significant funds to bolster tax enforcement. An effort to move a tax on the unrealized asset gains of billionaires, though it has drawn significant attention in the last several days, it is unlikely to make the final package because, God forbid, you dare attempt to tax billionaires. God forbid you attempt to even ask for something, because from what I understand, billionaires such as like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos effectively pay little to no taxes at all. Period. I guess that's too much to ask. No one would no one should be bothered. Much less them, right? Negotiators are also weighing whether to include a 3% surtax on individuals making more than $5 million annually, which was included in the House and Ways Means Committee proposal. Yeah, sure. 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 Tax them. I don't get it. Why is that such a controversial thing? Like, yeah. Tax the ever-living shit out of them. Yeah. I don't get it. This is not a radical concept. Well, I don't know if Manchin is a billionaire, is he? Medicare expansion hangs in the balance as Democrats race towards a deal. A major expansion of Medicare that Democrats propose as part of the Build Back Better initiative is in danger of being trimmed or even taken out of the legislation as lawmakers scramble to make a deal. Their original $6 trillion budget, which is now 3.5, which is now 1.75. Democrats included a revision of Medicare that would add coverage for dental, hearing, and vision. The plan was expected to cost around $350 billion over a decade. Over a decade. That's just asinine to me. This isn't much. Not individually, but I would be surprised if his family added up to $1 billion. Okay, maybe. Hey, Thandera. Yeah, trust me, it's a lot of molding today. Lot of molding. I mean, again, this has to be 24/7. This has to be plastered in front and center 24/7. Hey, Joe Manchin, explain to seniors why it would be a problem to add coverage for dental, hearing, and vision. Explain to the seniors of West Virginia why they don't need dental, hearing, and vision, and then explain to the American people across the entire country why seniors don't need dental, hearing, and vision. Explain to them, please. Look at them in the eyes, look at them in the face, and explain to them that they don't deserve this. That they haven't earned this. You know, they've only worked their entire lives for what? Defund the military and problem solved. Medicare paid for. Yeah, like you don't even have to defund the entire military to do it either. that's the ridiculous part of Hildebeest. You don't even have to defund the entirety of the military. You allocate and reorganize. Whoa. Okay, that was really weird. Can everybody hear me okay? Anyways, you reallocate just you reallocate 5%, 10%, 20% of the military budget, and that would still dwarf. Pretty much everybody else in the world. And you could pay for whatever social programs you want too. You could probably pay for everything. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. You could probably have a significant amount of funding by just even taking a sliver off the top. Not a lot, just a sliver off the top. Yeah, that's right. But now look. Yeah, it's just really weird. Alright, but now those part of the expansions may be dropped as lawmakers look to trim the overall costs and rework pieces of the legislation to appease conservative Democrat Senator Joe Manchin, President Joe Manchin, and Madam President Kirsten Sinema, apparently. Hey, howdy, Nug Wrangler. I'm glad to see that. Glad to see you're here, friend. Appreciate that. Always appreciate when friendly MR crew, friendly MR faces stop by. I see you. I see you, Nug. I see you, Tendera. I see you, sourcing. Is Bender doing a show today? Yo, Nug, I just made some bacon. What? You wanna smoke this joint? About the expansions, we're negotiating and talking about that. Adding that he's concerned about the country's deficit and pending insolvency of Medicare trust funds. I am not convinced. In good conscience, I have a hard time increasing benefits when you can't take care of what you have, so what's the difference? And that's the difference, and that's the discussion we're having. Except I'm not really convinced. I'm not really convinced that it's insolvent. I'm just not convinced. I had some fun lulls this morning watching The Objective as they gave... Ah, man. Do you know, was that today? Was that today or yesterday? Was that today or yesterday? It was yesterday? Okay, can we find that? That was kind of funny. Can we find that? I know how to spell YouTube. Stop trying to correct me, Google. I think this is it.
Millions of people across America suffer
from a 571 area code. Who's this? Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Dan. I am calling from California.
Dan from California. What's on your mind?
This is it.
I was listening to the show yesterday, and there was a brief reference to Atlas Shrugged at one point.
Oh, yeah, I think we got it.
I think Emma said that she learned about, quote, Atlas Shrugged and all that bullshit, unquote.
Okay.
So that was interesting to me, and
what,
I was curious to...
What do you mean by interesting?
Well, I have a very different view of Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged myself, so I want to see if we could discuss that a bit.
Sure.
And hear why she thinks that of it, or what you think of it.
Yes, bullshit. Dan, let me ask you a question. Did you and I talk last week?
Yes, I'm the one who called in about the chat policy.
About the chat policy. Everything's coming together now. Are you a libertarian, Dan?
No.
No, I'm an objectivist.
What does that mean?
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Objectivism is an entire philosophy. That's one thing. It's not just a political philosophy.
Also, it's a religion, too.
Well, I don't know.
Well, wait a second.
No, it's anti-religion.
Yeah, tell me what it is, not just what it isn't.
Okay. So, there's 5 branches of philosophy, and I could go through and just actually, Ayn Rand was actually asked, can you say what objectivism is while standing on one foot? And she did that once. There's an article called Introducing Objectivism, which you can find on the internet, and she does this. So I can give you the brief standing on one foot version. So
yeah, it all comes down to the same kind of
view of what is the fundamental nature of reality.
I think that there is a small distinction, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's really hard to kind of parse. Like, they're one and the same to me. They're one and the same. An objectivist and a libertarian are almost one and the same. I think that, like, the libertarians are like more of a political kind of ideology, and like the caller said, objectivism is kind of like a moral philosophy according to them. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, they basically come up with the same solutions. Yeah, exactly. The differences are minor, right? It's hard to parse through. But to me, it's almost like it's almost the same. It's basically the same. I mean,
like, she thinks there's just one world. There's no supernatural world. There's no God. It's just this world which we perceive with our senses and which we understand with our reason.
I mean,
and then second branch, epistemology. In other words, the study of the nature of knowledge. She's pro-reason. So she's anti-faith, which makes her anti-religion.
Okay.
She only believes in what you can prove by logic and reason and evidence of your senses. And then
I mean, on the surface, there's nothing really wrong with that, but never really ends up like that, does it? So this guy's well-versed. This guy isn't well-versed in objectivist theory. He misses some opportunities to weasel out of Sam's arguments. Yeah, but, you know, I mean, like, a lot of these folks have, like, a very copy-pasta kind of deal. So they all, I don't want to say they all sound the same, but they kind of do.
Branch ethics, how should we live? She believes in a morality of rational self-interest, so you should do what's best for yourself
Rational
Right.
self-interest.
while
Very well.
respecting the rights of others, neither sacrificing yourself to others nor others to yourself.
Right. Okay.
Fourth branch, the final branch.
Now that would you say that third branch, the one about pursuing your own self-interests, that one's when we start getting into politics a little bit, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she believes in individual rights. In her last branch, political philosophy, she believes in capitalism. And the way she understands that, I think it's often smeared today, but she understands it is that you can't initiate force against other people. If you did that, you would be violating their rights. So
Right.
you can do whatever.
And what do you think? What do you think? What do you think a company does?
You want, as long as you don't use physical force against other people.
Right. The non-aggression policy, right?
How do you think like
Well, that's
forests
what
are
libertarians
privatized?
sometimes call it. I think she didn't use that phrase. Sometimes it's
Non-aggression
called the
pact.
non-initiation of force principle.
Fair enough.
But I
Fair
don't
enough.
think-
Now, these are things that you subscribe to too, right? I mean, this isn't. I mean, she's just the person who came up with this stuff. You don't perceive her as some type of like demigod or anything.
Or
like
like a
that.
deity, right? Since it's not religious in nature.
I mean, I admire her tremendously.
I mean, that
but
comes
I don't
across.
think she's like a supernatural being.
Okay, but I mean, in terms of like just non-supernatural beings, she's right up there, right? Like, I mean, she's almost supernatural.
She's like Plato, basically.
I think she was a heroic.
I gotta read all the I gotta read the I gotta read the Atlas Shrugged to digest it again. It's been a while. A good objectivist will always just say, well, that wouldn't be in your actual long-term rational best interest. The ideology assumes that people have perfect information at all times. A lot of libertarians in that way, but with better language for it. Right. So, like, the idea then, I mean, there's serious problems with that, right? I mean, so then, as Sam has pointed out in other debates, it's like, so you're just supposed to know everything? You're just supposed to, like, magically, through osmosis, through omniscience, I guess, know everything so that you can actually make the decisions based on all the perfect information at all times. So, like, that's kind of, like, where it starts to break apart, right? That there's no such thing.
person, and she lived a very.
Did it bum you out when you
life.
found out that she took Social Security?
No, actually, I recently produced a video about that, which I'm going to be releasing soon on my YouTube channel,
Oh,
which deals with the that smear of her that she was a hypocrite for taking money back that was looted from her through this program. And she actually discussed
Oh,
it
no.
herself in her article, The Question of Scholarships, which is available free on the internet. So there's no problem at all. It's perfectly consistent with her principles of non-coercion.
I see. Okay, she was just retrieving her property, as it were.
Non-coercion.
Exactly.
What about Medicare?
Non-coercion. So, like, what do you think, like, what do you think it is to make sure that the only way you get food, housing, things that you need to live is by default needing to sell yourself for a wage, right? What is that if not coercion? Philosophers spent over 1,000 years slowly coming to the conclusion that scientific realism was the most successful approximator of truth. Something like that. Pretty much, and if you don't, you just have a lesser, you are just a lesser being and deserve what happens. Yeah, you know who's really, like, on that? JF Giuseppe? JF Grep, I forget his name. He's like a race realist, he's a race realist minarchist. Sometimes he'll flip labels between minarchist and anarcho-capitalist, but really he's like a race realist. And yeah, he just basically came to that conclusion, sourcing.
Well, she thinks that people should not be forced to pay for others' people.
Actually, Medicare pays out more than it takes in. That's why I asked Medicare.
Well, it's premised on taxation. Everything that is funded by taxation is funded by a coercive means.
Right.
So if you want to voluntarily help pay for other people's health care, you are free to do that in a
Right.
capitalist system.
Right.
What you are not free to do is to forcibly take other
Correct,
people's
sourcing.
money and make them.
Don't believe in taxation. Don't believe in taxation.
Oh, or coercion.
Right.
for that matter,
If you understand that to mean coercion, then right, she's against it.
She's against tax. Well, taxation is necessarily coercive. You don't really get a choice. If you're going to be a member of this
Well, I've heard
society,
people define it in different ways. Some people think, oh, if you some people talk about voluntary taxes, and you might not want to use the word.
There's no
that
such
way,
thing
so
as voluntary
You
taxes.
understand it in the.
Taxes are
Excuse me?
coercive, period. Definitionally.
Okay, yeah, sure.
No, that's not actually true. That's actually not true. There was originally before they were made coercive, taxes in the federalist system beforehand, before we scrapped the whole like Articles of Confederation. States voluntarily set their taxes, and then like they realize, wait, that it just doesn't work because people don't voluntarily just want to pull into society. It's kind of like it has to be like codified into law, you know? It can't just be like, well, you can if you want, maybe. Nah. I find that the best way to challenge an ideology is generally just to identify the internal inconsistency, yes, but I need to actually read the book in order to kind of pick it apart, right?
If you want
You
to
need to
define
pay.
it that way, then yeah, she's against taxes.
Okay. All right. And let's just be clear here. You're not infertile. Because I sort of felt bad the other day. I was a little bit confused as to whether or not you could actually have children. But that's not.
Yeah, I know that was. Yeah, I know that was
Okay.
a funny little bit that people have made a lot of hay of.
I know it. It was funny. I mean, actually, here, hold on, play the song for 1 second. Did you hear this?
No
'Cause
way.
I want to get into. I want to
call's
get
very
into.
popular.
I want to get into the political aspects of your philosophy that guides your life. Because I'm not really that terribly interested in philosophies. But play this. This is actually
Yes,
pretty funny.
Yaron Brook. Yes, exactly.
Anyone who wants to learn more about infertility.
I was wondering if you're open to talking about your chat room policy.
That is in the bylaws.
Yes, please tell me what my chat room policy is.
It just saying silly comments.
YouTube chat.
So I block the people who are being rude and obnoxious to me.
I think I missed that part. Listen, he better be talking about YouTube chat, because I know Twitch chat is good. I know Twitch chat is good. I'm watching you guys, always.
All right, that's we should put a link to that song. It's pretty amazing.
It's called Dante's Infertile.
yeah.
Kind of a good pun.
All right, but Dan, not Dante. Let's just
Dante's
listen.
infertile,
I got to be
not
honest with you.
Dan.
I'm not terribly interested in your philosophy, in philosophies, like how this deals with your life. If you whether you believe in God or not believe in God or anything like that. That's all. I don't. None of that stuff really is implicated in the context of this show. But I'm more interested in what it means in terms of your politics. Now, you don't believe in taxes. You think taxes are immoral, and do you believe in and you believe that? Now, you believe that society can do better if everyone pursues their own self-interest? Is that one of the tenets of your philosophy or worldview? Okay.
Yeah,
now, let me ask you
think
this. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
What do you do
Howdy.
about like antibiotics? Would you take antibiotics? Because if everybody takes antibiotics, which is for anything, which as an individual makes a lot of sense, because if I have something that can be cleared up by antibiotics, I take it. If it doesn't clear it up, there's no really big harm in terms of the antibiotics, me taking them, as long as I take them as prescribed. However, when we get into the overuse of antibiotics, we are developing superorganisms or organisms that are mutating and making antibiotics less effective. So what do you do in that type of situation?
What do you do with antibiotics?
Well, no. What do you do with the impetus to do what's in your rational self-interest when, in fact, you pursuing your rational self-interest actually has a detriment to society?
Well, if you can show that it does physical harm to other people, then you could.
Well, it doesn't do physical harm to other people. It makes antibiotics less effective if you just take them all the time, if you are not in any way circumspect in the way that you take them. But it is in your own individual self-interest to have antibiotics. I mean, I imagine you wouldn't even allow for the licensing of people to prescribe drugs. Why would the state do that?
This is a bad analogy.
Why,
A bad analogy.
Licensing, I don't.
No, don't get caught up in the licensing. I'm just saying that the reason why we inhibit the use of antibiotics is not because it's not in the interest of any even individual at any given instance to take antibiotics. It's because we're afraid of antibiotics becoming ineffective.
Right, this is where he should have said it wouldn't be. Whoa!
Disenfranchise.
Get out of here, Chucky.
Wait, so
This is where he should have said it just wouldn't be in his long-term rational self-interest. Yeah, but I think like the analogy is kind of weird too, right? Like now that I'm listening back to it, I think that what he said later on was better. I think what he said later on and how he checkmated him was better than this one.
You're saying that if people take antibiotics,
If there is too much use of antibiotics, there is a great fear within the medical community, and there's a lot of indications that the overusage of antibiotics, on the whole, the collective overuse of antibiotics is making them less effective long term. And yet, as an individual, it makes sense for me to defer to antibiotics
overuse that ends up with antibiotics not working.
There's no
right.
detriment to me as an
the
individual.
whole point isn't even the antibiotics. So just to be clear, chat, the whole point is not even the antibiotic analogy. There's an underlying point that Sam's trying to get to, but like I think he just chose like the worst way to go about it. But yeah, there's an underlying point here that has nothing to do with the antibiotics.
Okay, so you're saying there's a conflict between what's good for the individual,
correct,
what's good for the society.
Yeah.
Could have just said that.
Kinds of examples like that you could raise. And
yeah,
it's not always obvious.
Right, and it's pretty obvious.
This one's obvious.
This one's super obvious. That's why I brought it up. It's super obvious.
So you think assuming this effect is real, the solution that's obvious is what?
Well, the point is that it sort of puts to it illustrates that what might be good in the rational self-interest of the individual is not good in the interest of the collective and of society. And I wonder how someone like you deals with that reality.
I mean, he could have just said that.
Well, one thing I'm saying here is it's not always obvious what the solution is. Like, I don't know what I would do personally about this if I were...
how does that square with your philosophy?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. This is something I would have to think about. I mean, they're talking about a medical situation. It's got these.
Well, I'm talking about the concept of. I mean, there's a lot of examples, frankly, where we can talk about what's good for the individual isn't necessarily good for society. You know, one of those things actually came up in the Republican presidential primary last round, 2015. It was in the rational self-interest of all of those candidates to not attack Donald Trump early on because they didn't want to alienate Donald Trump's sizable support. However, they ended up all losing, and arguably the Republican Party ended up losing on some level, and certainly I think society did. Maybe you disagree, because they acted in their own rational self-interest. What I'm trying to do is to give you, illustrations and examples of when your philosophy, and I know it's rather rigid,
right? Sourcing exactly
is
no, I don't know,
wrong.
Astro. I don't know if he's in.
Okay, well, I mean, if you can come up with a clear example,
I feel like I just gave you two.
Well, here's a question. Do you go to work?
I do.
Do you have a steady job?
Yes.
What happens if you don't go to work?
Then I will not get paid.
And
you need to be paid to exist in society. Is that correct?
Well, unless I file for some government program like welfare that coerces people to support myself.
Can we just historicize that for a moment?
Wait, where are we going?
Right, but you are coerced to go to work, are you not, to continue to exist in society?
No, I choose to go to work.
But you choose to go to work, but you can't exist in society without going to work. How is that a choice?
I could exist in society without going for work. It might not be very good. I could live as a bum on the street and try to panhandle for money, and some people do that.
And a lot of them die.
And a lot of them, yeah, it's not a great way to live. I wouldn't choose it for myself.
You also could not pay taxes. You also could not pay taxes, as you say. You could be a conscientious non-taxpayer and go to prison and still live.
His work.
Or you could live as a bum, as you say, on the street.
Money exists because the government
there
taxes
are
for
narrow
you.
exceptions.
So then we should eliminate what, taxes? No. Well, I think work exists because work needs to be done. I don't know if necessarily work exists because money exists. Because like what happens beforehand? What happened before? What about societies that even didn't have a single currency system? How did they? I mean, the Inca Empire had absolutely no currency whatsoever. They still got to work. Obviously, they still had to make food. They still had to build roads. They still had to build massive infrastructure in the Inca Empire. And not a single source of currency. Money is there to basically make you do things. It's in the government's interest to have people to do things. So money exists to allow a modern economy. Oh, okay, so I see what you're saying now. I see what you're saying now. He'd say it so much so that Dan gets frustrated and asks why they are talking about work. He can try driving on the wrong side of the road and not wear a seatbelt. I would not advise that. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, James.
To these coercive concepts that you're talking about. It's just which coercion makes sense for society because you already are being coerced into a job.
Right.
No, I don't accept that.
Okay, Colin, can I try? Colin, do you know what the word enclosure means?
I've heard of that. I had a debate with a communist on YouTube, and he talked about enclosures in England, and I said I didn't know much about that, but...
It's not just in England. I mean, it's anywhere that you take land that was commonly held by the community and make it private property, a process that started basically like 400 years ago. Prior to that, you could just go into the woods and, you know, be self-sufficient or be among your community. But in this epoch we live now, what Emma said is true. So you can't just, like, opt out of this situation. It is a fundamental coercion.
Money exists to standardize the value of work. It just fails to do so.
All you do in your doll, whatever doll it is,
I don't think that
it's literally just drag and drop.
It's because
drag one of these chord progressions in, boom, just like that.
Okay.
Self-sufficiently.
That's weird. I guess YouTube thinks that, or YouTube has found out that I am indeed a musician, so it's not trying to feed me music apps. Yes, but I don't know if it was it used to standardize the value of work, or was it used to standardize the way we run like markets and economies? Because instead of like bartering, or instead of doing all of this, we just said, you know what, let's just say that eggs cost 1 penny or whatever the currency was back then instead, and they kind of just like money is shorthand is what it is. Should children be permitted to never go to school and wear diapers all their life? I don't know about that. We have to work within our society to survive, but not necessarily because of money. It is specifically because we live in a highly coercive society, in large because of capitalism, but to a lesser degree because of state and income taxation. Money is a tool and it's very useful. Yeah, it's a shorthand, I would say.
You think well, first of all, not everything is.
Have you tried hunting in America?
There's a ton of government. There's a ton of land that's owned by the government.
And capitalists are going after it over and over again in America, and a lot less in Europe, right? So, like, but do you think that land should be held in common, or do you think that should be private property?
An example recently mentioned by Chomsky.
In general, maybe there are some
roads,
exceptions,
you have
like
to drive on the road. Yeah, exactly.
But the vast majority, at least, I think, should be private.
Right, so then it's owned. So, like, for instance, if you want to go hunt for food, you would have to ask the
everybody agrees
landowner.
Because it's mutually beneficial. Right, because, you know, we live in a society. Right, so, like, that's the whole point. That kind of reaches the crux of the problem with this type of ideology, right? This problem with the philosophy kind of runs into this problem, right? Exactly as you're pointing out. Well, yeah, we kind of have these established norms, which are like laws, I guess you would call them, that everybody agrees to, not because like we want them or like everybody's like, yeah, I guess. It's more of like it's kind of necessary and mutually beneficial at the same time. Even the pound is both a standard of unit of weight and money. True, yeah, we cannot avoid coercion in general, but we can seek to minimize unnecessary coercion. Right, that's kind of like similar to kind of like the idea or concept of unjust hierarchies, right? It's kind of like the concept of dismantling unjust hierarchies. Like, we all know that even in the most like it kind of like anarcho kind of syndicalist type of societies, there was always some type of flattened hierarchy, right? Like, for example, one of the earliest iterations of how a anarcho-syndicalist or federation society could look like was the indigenous people here, right? They still had sachems, and those sachems reported to other sachems, but all of them were democratically elected or democratically put by the people, by the people, right? Generally speaking, that's kind of how the loose federations work. They all traded with each other. They all had like loose hierarchies. They weren't like they were as flattened as possible. Should we be permitted to freely? No. The best description of freedom I ever heard was in a recent interview with Jaron Lanier. He said it's something like, you know you're in a free society when everyone's perpetually annoyed. Okay.
For permission.
Yeah, if you're hunting on somebody's land, then yeah, I would think you need permission to hunt or do anything else on their land.
So the self-sufficiency goes out the window unless you're basically on good with the local landowner.
I mean, you can rent from somebody. I don't know. So are you thinking self-sufficient?
Well, no, I think the point is he's saying, like, you know, you have this option of becoming a bum. But I mean, if we lived in the world that you wanted to live, there would be no place where you were allowed to live as what you call a bum, right? Like, I mean, in your worldview, there are no public streets. There are no public sidewalks. There's only we'll make allowances for governmental buildings. But how do you, in your worldview, where it's not coercive of you to have a job, how do you exist? Because you walk on that private property, dude, and you don't have a place to live or to be. I'm going to say get out.
I don't think it's that hard to support yourself. You work a job, you pay some.
Well, no. We're not talking about hard. We're not talking about hard. We're talking about because you're talking about a philosophy, right? Like, I mean, this is why I don't subscribe to some type of, like, you know, principles that I have to, that provide answers for me in every situation, like ostensibly objectivism does. But you do. And your philosophy is that, I mean, you just said to
essentially it always comes down to basic principle of freedom is not free and responsibility of citizens come before its rights.
We said, well, how is that
Otherwise,
the case?
nobody has any rights until somebody's...
Well,
sorry, hold on. One thing at a time. Sorry. Until someone is willing to respect the rights of another responsibility, then nobody has rights of freedom. Yeah, because, like, if people just become, like, self-entitled and people just, like, say, well, the only thing that matters is me, and F everybody else, and nobody should stop me, then, well, yeah, I don't think that's how it should work. That provide answers for me in every situation, like ostensibly objectivism does. But you do. And your philosophy is that, I mean, you just said dictates to you that having to work is not coercive in any way. And we said, well, how is that the case? If you want to live in society, you need to work. And he's like, no, I could choose to live as a bum, you said, and hang out. And I'm suggesting to you that if the other part of your philosophy, which was that we should only have private property, short of maybe a government owning a place for their building, my question to you would be like, whose private property are you going to be able to trespass upon in your life as a guy who doesn't make money in this society? Like, where are you going to sleep at night, dude?
Well, I mean, you're putting yourself in that problem.
No. You're putting yourself in that property. You're that problem. You're saying that there is an option to not working and to not getting government largesse. And what is that option in which you can survive?
You choose to work, so you don't.
No. Listen. You're avoiding the question. I'm saying it's a choice. It's a free choice, right? So there must be an option.
Yeah.
What's the option to not working in this society, in particularly the society that you envision, where everything is owned privately? You tell me what you, Dan, fertile or not, is going to do. You have made the choice to not work, to not earn any money in society. You've also, because of your philosophy, said that the government should not be providing any help to you, Dan. So, Dan, You have this free choice. What's the choice? Talk to me about the choice that you choose not to work. What happens then?
Well, assuming I make that bad choice, I don't know why I would do that, but if I make that choice...
Well, because you can, because of freedom.
You're not being coerced.
Freedom, right?
Yeah, if I stupidly make the choice not to work, stupidly make the choice not to work, then I would have to rely on charity.
Whoa.
So then it is coercion. So it's not really a free choice, is it? This is why I like the perpetual, annoyance remark. Annoyed but not harmed by having to deal with others with different priorities. Yeah, exactly. You can go live in a teepee on the prairie. Nope, because that's private property. It'd be awesome if people stopped inhibiting their own empathy. And that's a thought.
Well, no, let's talk about the day you get knocked out of your apartment, right? You can't pay your rent on your apartment. Where do you go?
I don't know. Maybe I go to a park or something.
Whoa! A public park? Dude, wait, dude. We're living in Dan's world. There are no public parks.
Yeah, maybe in Dan's world we would create a park for people exactly in the kind of situation.
Who's we? Wait, we?
14. Okay.
Wait, where are you going?
Right, but you are coerced to go to work, are you not, to continue to exist in society?
No, I choose to go to work.
But you choose to go to work, but you can't exist in society without going to work. How is that a choice?
I could exist in society without going for work. It might not be very good. I could live as a bum on the street.
Right, and then
a random boss just there to tell.
Easier if I would.
So I'm kicked out of my apartments, and I guess sick, poor people just going at random places. So you create
apartment. Where do you go?
I don't know. Maybe I go to a park or something.
Whoa! A public park? Dude, wait, dude. We're living in Dan's world. There are no public parks.
Yeah, maybe in Dan's world we would create a park for people exactly in the kind of situation.
Who's we? We?
Yeah.
Wait.
Maybe some
we.
Anybody. Say you're some capitalist businessman and you don't want to have dead or sick poor people just going at random places. So you create.
No. Wait. Who's done that? Who's ever done that? We're not going to do that. You can't rely on somebody's largesse.
We have homeless people now.
I want to know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Wait. The generosity of these folks that we were promised. Remember, all of this is going to trickle down and all of this other stuff. That's going to manifest itself into what? Charity? Yeah, okay. Things that never happened include... unironically, things that never happened include a whole bunch of private owners, capitalists getting together and saying, yeah, we're just going to end homelessness. That's literally never, that's not a thing. Not a thing here. Yeah, he's going to build a park as soon as his third rocket is done. Yeah, exactly. That's literally never, that's not a thing here, okay? Okay, I don't want to speak in absolutes, but that's not a thing here, to my knowledge.
Wait, we? Dan, what do you do? You've been kicked out of your apartment. Where do you go?
Harvard expels student over fuel-saving car gadget.
What?
Alarmed by price hikes at the pump?
What are these ads?
Look, if I were running the show...
No, Dan, you're not running the show. You simply made the free choice. You can say it's smart or not smart. Well, that's debatable, but you made the free choice to not work because work is not coercive in our society. According to you, you don't need money. You can choose to do something else. You've been kicked out of your apartment because your landlord has said you haven't paid rent. Where do you go? You step out that door. Where do you go?
You're saying every inch of the earth is owned by someone.
You just said to me, Dan, you don't believe in public property. You believe that it should be privatized. So where do you go?
All right, let me see if I can think this through. So I'm kicked out of my apartments, and I guess any other street I walk on, I hear the music.
Yep. It's like the game show. You're thinking you get time to think, choose door number 1, door number 2 type of thing. I'm just trying to fill time.
So much would be different. There would be so much different in this world that I don't know what all the options would be. I would assume that the free market would have evolved a mechanism by this time to handle the kind of
well, that's a hell of an assumption.
Well, wait a second. I'm just curious what that evolution would look like. The free market would be like incinerator. Like maybe we get it
hasn't happened. It is 2021. It hasn't happened. Okay, there are still things such as homelessness. Okay, it hasn't happened. I would argue that maybe it's kind of a par for the course. People like this are really concerning. I mean, I can totally get behind, I can totally get it if you don't want to jump on the communism train or whatever, but to be dogmatic in the face of clear logical oversight is maddening. You don't have to be some wild anarcho-capitalist to not be a communist, right? Yeah, I think that you have a point there where people are so willing to yeet logic out the window for the sake of ideology, really. It's not even philosophy, it's just ideology. Firing all our billionaires into space in Roblox is the worst idea of our rockets. In Roblox again. yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right, sourcing. You're right. It's just that the market... it's just that the market isn't free enough. That's the problem. Yeah, you're right. The Texas leftist, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. You could go back to the Stone Age and fight your neighbor for resources. In this guy's world, maybe.
Can't pay your rent and you got to step out. We're not going to allow you to step on. You're not walking on my sidewalk.
Into the fire pit. That's the cheapest way to do it.
The solution is penal colony.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I would put you in a labor camp, like a privatized one, of course, or maybe the incinerator. Maybe I get a contract from somebody from the government. But there's that nasty government again. I guess the point is that I'm trying to make here, and the reason why you can't come up with this answer is either
I'm going to grab some dinner. Have a great stream. Bye. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Hildebeest. Please make sure you follow.
Or the world in which you envision.
Please make sure you follow twitch.tv/Hildy_beast, the hardest working mod on Twitch. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Vision is not real or possible. You are imagining
about this really weird case. I'm curious. It's not going to be.
It's just the one that just happened. It was just literally the one that just sort of we walked into, because we could have had this conversation about, and it could have been 20 other examples.
Because you said work isn't coercive, and you're saying taxes are coercive, but work is not. That's why we're in this hypothetical right now.
Well, let me ask you about this. If you're alone on an island,
you
have to work to survive, right?
What?
So you're on an island, and two people crash down in an island. And one person happens to have all the coconuts.
If you're alone on an island, do you have to work to survive?
Do I have to work to survive? I would.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I'm alone on the island, guess what? I brought also a bunch of food and a bunch of other stuff, too.
Well, how about if there's two people on the island, does one own it and the other works for the person? Like,
No. Hold on. You're getting ahead of
sorry.
us. You're alone on the island.
Yeah.
Do you have to work to survive?
I would imagine.
Yeah, I'd probably have to do some fishing, maybe.
Yeah.
Some
Okay.
shelter.
Are you being coerced?
No.
No.
Okay. So just because you have to work to survive doesn't mean you're being coerced.
I don't have to earn any money.
Yeah, exactly. You're not making any money. You're not earning a wage from a capitalist.
I don't earn any money. And also, you know what doesn't exist on that island?
Property.
Private property.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody owns that island.
Nobody has
It's all
it.
public property.
Right. Are you starting late night streams? Are you starting night streams? I don't know. I mean, if you guys want it, I'll make sure to indulge. If you guys are into later night streams, absolutely. I refuse to stay on an island unless someone provides me with a boss. I think I saw that. Was that? Did you post that in chat? In Twitch chat? For some reason, it's triggering my bootlegged photographic memory. Unless it was somebody else. Somebody must have come up with that too. Yeah, remember Lord of the Flies. You're technically being coerced. You're being forced to work because basic biological needs to find. It comes up in a moment. To find food, water, and shelter. Has anyone tried not finding these things instead of living free? Right, but I think that what they mean is like you're not coerced in the sense that you don't have like this differential between like somebody owning the means versus you just doing it to survive, right? Like, I don't know. I think there's a difference there. Force doesn't need to be enforced by being. You're being forced to do these things because you need to. Yeah, that's true.
Now, if
that's true.
It's all private property, and I don't have money, I'd probably die.
Money is irrelevant on the island.
Oh, well, so isn't property.
Okay,
I'll tell you what, dude. If you eliminate private property, I will have no issue with people working to survive.
Yeah, work is good. Work for capitalists, especially when it's compelled by the state powers, is not. It's a different thing.
Yeah, I think they make up the.
If you're alone on the island and you have to work to survive, you're not going to be as well off as if there was someone there who could be your employer and offer you a job. We've already got a system that's established.
What?
You can just easily walk into that and earn a wage.
Wait a second. I'm alone on the island, but there's a boss there?
No,
That's okay. Okay, I'm pretty sure somebody in chat like posted that exact same comment. I refuse to stay on an island because unless someone provides me with a boss. There's a paycheck to living in society. That is why farmers all went to cities. Yeah.
For my wage?
Your life would be much easier if there were an employer to help you out.
You know what would be even more?
Wait a second.
That's such punk energy,
so
dude.
If I'm alone, wait. You're saying my life on the island would be easier if I was working for an employer on the island alone.
How much do you love your
Have you
boss,
read,
Dan?
Can we just talk about Robinson Crusoe for a second? Like, if there was another person on the island, okay, I don't buy that it'd be more helpful if he was a boss, but if he was willing to work for you for no wage, that would be ultra helpful, actually, and maybe more historically accurate.
But he wouldn't be a boss.
A random boss just there to tell you what to do and how much
Yeah.
you get for how much work you did? That would not be helpful. A boss that just... Is it the idea that the boss just knows productivity so well that he can teach you exactly the way to build a hut and fish for fish? Like, that's just the divine power of bosses?
No, I'm saying that employers are helping you survive. They're not making your life worse. So they're not
that's not
exploiting
true.
you.
What do they do with the political system?
That is,
And there it is.
That is an interesting take. But you know what, Dan? We have spent a lot of time on this, and I
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Call back in about A
appreciate it.
equals A. I want to talk to you about A equals A maybe on a Thursday.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank
And
you.
Dan, your boss
And I am
appreciates,
really
appreciates your loyalty.
sorry
yeah.
about your inability to have children.
If only...
Wait, did I get that right?
No, it's the other way around.
Okay, no. Right, you are fertile.
Do we have his theme song though? Maybe just to play him out.
I love the idea of a deserted island, but there's an employer.
It is, of course,
Oh, I'm alone in this island, except there's a job
the
career.
harrowing story of Employer Island.
Robinson Crusoe, LLC.
Dan's a good sport.
Yeah,
Dan's a
Dan.
good sport.
That's the plot to Castaway, right?
You know, Dan
Yeah.
sounds older than I think. I mean, does he? I forgot to ask how old Dan was. He sounds older. That's so funny. Sounds older than I would imagine he must be.
Well, we should say though, Dan, as Ayn Rand fans go, you aren't, you're at the top
Sporting.
of the heap. Yeah.
I love the libertarians who are not libertarians.
Objectivist.
I know. Yeah, that's yeah.
It's an even more myopic perspective on the world, which is somehow possible.
Penny from New Mexico says, I can't believe you're still wasting time with this guy. I'd much prefer hearing other more thoughtful and important conversations from the MR audience. I've actually turned off the show for long stretches and come back to find you still talking to him. I know I can't, but you missed the part about the deserted island, except for the boss.
Oh man, tell me you don't understand the majority report without tell me you don't understand the majority report without telling me you don't understand the majority report. Like, okay, listen. Samuel lives for this, okay? Samuel lives for this. It's like catnip. Sam would do nothing but talk to libertarians if he could, true. This actually reminds me of an extract written by James Mumford I read a couple months back where he talks about things like peer pressure and coercion exists on often very invisible levels. On often very invisible levels, and traditional conceptions of it mostly focus on physical, obvious instances that force people mostly don't make choices based on complete freedom or liberty from freedom or liberty from responsibility, and instead are constantly factoring in how it will impact others and how others will respond to said action. Interesting. Yeah, I think. I mean, like, that's kind of how it goes, right? We live in a society. That's how it should go, technically. Sam would do nothing but talk. Yeah, exactly, and I would be there watching every moment. Yeah. Alright, so back to molding. That was a nice little detour. Nice detour. Oh man, it's so nice not to have to, like, necessarily be rushed. Evening. Do you know about Dan Price? Yeah, Dan Price. Yep. It turns out, when you treat your employers like people, it's actually very beneficial. Hey, Alio, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. It's a unusual evening stream, but appreciate that. It's kind of funny. All right, so back to the malt session. Yeah, so the expansion of Medicare is looks to be like on the chopping block, and Senator Bernie Sanders insists that it must be included in legislation. He's also demanding that the bill allow Medicare to negotiate lower drug prices with pharmaceutical companies, which I think would be great. Bottom line is any reconciliation bill must include serious negotiations of Medicare and the pharmaceutical industry to lower the cost of prescription drugs. Yeah, that's a great idea. Sanders told a reporter on Tuesday, adding that a serious reconciliation bill must include expanding Medicare to cover dental hearing aids and eyeglasses. Right, we went over that previously, where it seems like President Joe Manchin has decided that, yeah, seniors don't really need eyeglasses, hearing aids, or dental care. You know, I guess they just don't need that, according to President Joe Manchin. I love reading the comment section and Dan Price's link post. People get so mad at him. Yeah, well, they can stay mad. He's doing fine. He explained discussing the concept of assisted dying and how those choose to die are often burdened by the things we don't openly talk about in society, and that it, in essence, aids them in their choice. His example of people, they would maybe choose assisted dying because they feel like a burden on their family, but norms have changed. That means elders don't live with kids anymore, etc. Invisible coercion is still a real force that is felt, even if it's not intended. Interesting. That's something to think about. Definitely something to think about. Vexed. Former President Trump still has the party on lock. If recent polling is any indication, still a Democratic lawmaker insists how many Republicans are only interested in using Trump for the political advantage he brings, and then privately hold a great deal of disdain. I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, the issue here isn't the issue here is that Trump still commands a sizable part of the Republican Party voter base, and that's why he has so much and that's why he has so much sway, because he has so much of the voter base captured. That's what it is. And I would say, and I would argue, that most of it is the evangelical bloc. So this actually wouldn't be surprising to me at all. It was hosted at Morning Joe, and the conversation started with an ad the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee released over the weekend. The ad predictably paints Trump as a loser who can't accept that he lost the 2020 election, but the GOP is fine with appealing to his voters. As chairman of the DCCC, Maloney was asked to explain the strategy behind the video, and he answered by saying, "Donald, they're laughing at you on Capitol Hill." Well, they usually like, oof, I don't know if I would say it like that, but, and then they laugh behind your back, and then they run away from you, and they talk, when they try to talk voters in swing districts. We think the former president should know that the Republican Party is using him to raise money, but making fun of him. You know what? I don't know. I think he is the Republican Party. I don't know. I'm starting to think otherwise. I think he is the Republican Party.
A man who aligns with
Oh, here we are. I want to play this video again just because I think it's important to reiterate.
And I say to him, if he wasn't, that he should have expected this type of question. Ooh, it's already almost time for me to go on that other stream. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what's up here. Any other callers? No, I think that's it for the calls. All right, let's do this. This is amazing. This is an amazing clip. This is quite frankly an amazing clip.
I'm not gonna lie.
Let me
and this really
no, not the Ben Shapiro one again. Let me just cue this up here. This is really
I'm not gonna lie. The first like for the
Charlie
first like
Kirk,
moment,
Mr. Turning Point,
I really thought that this guy was like messing with him. Like for just a split second, I thought this guy was messing with him.
USA. He's going on his he's got his new show where he debates people. Charlie Kirk, reach out to me, by the way. I'll go on your show if you want me. Even if you don't, I'll go on your show. But anyway, Charlie Kirk is apparently on this touring the country on something called the Critical Race Theory Tour with his organization Turning Point USA. And I don't know exactly what the purpose of the tour is. I'm assuming it's related to getting conservatives all riled up about and it's something to be cautious of, to be quite frank. When you watch this, it's something, it's jarring.
You ready? Yeah. You're brave. You're brave for what you say and the fact that you stand up there and say it, and I appreciate it. I think we all appreciate it, actually, because there's not a lot of people that have the balls to do it.
I honestly thought this was a joke. I'm not kidding. I thought this guy was joking.
But I want to ask you something a little bit out of the ordinary.
But
so
then it gets my mood completely like did a 180 when I realized, oh wait, this guy isn't joking.
Prepare yourself. At this point, we're living under corporate and medical fascism. This is tyranny. When do we get to use the guns? No, and I'm not, that's not a joke. I'm not saying it like that. I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal before we kill these people?
Having a gamer moment there, that's for sure. I think that the most disturbing part about this video is, well, one guy, one lunatic, okay, but the crowd was cheering, okay? The crowd was clapping. The crowd was cheering for this. Just take that in for a second. Just take that in.
I mean, he's really just coming out and saying it, right? I mean, I wonder if this guy knows he's on camera here, because this is pretty fucked up. But I mean, Charlie Kirk supported the January 6th events at the Capitol. His organization was involved in getting people to the event. His rhetoric completely supported what this guy believes when it comes to electoral fraud, which does not exist at any level or scale to change.
Yeah. So like, this is the whole thing about like stochastic, right? The idea of stochastic events, stochastic terrorism, things like that. Charlie Kirk isn't telling people to. He isn't telling people to do anything. But when you have a continuous narrative that's being spread to everybody about how nothing can be trusted, the elections have been stolen. You need to fight for your country. You need to take back your country. You need to fight like hell. You need to save America. You need to like all of this just kind of starts to drive people to the natural conclusion of like, well, if I can't trust anything, the elections are rigged. There's no other recourse. Like this is exactly where the logic, the natural conclusion of this, and this guy is just exhibiting it in IRL. That's it. You have to appreciate the honesty. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know about LARPers, James. I don't know about that. I think that they're very serious about that. They want to group up and start shooting out, but they've noticed each time they do it, they all lose their pizza delivery jobs.
Change any election. It just, I believe we have a total of, geez, I don't know, like less than a dozen maybe issues of election fraud in the 2020 presidential election. And I think like the majority of it,
I don't know about that, but it was insignificant.
Who were committing election fraud for Donald Trump. Let me rewind it a little bit, because I think you need to hear this again. And let's hear what Charlie Kirk's reaction is.
No, and I'm not, that's not a joke. I'm not saying it like that. I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal before we kill these people?
So, no. Yeah, so like the solution, of course, is with no other recourse, is to take that type of course of action. Sometimes I think people get a little bogged down in the details, though of things like this. Like, sure, each side picks things it talks about all the time, but they'll tell you it's the thing that's important to them. But when you really look at it, it's just very extreme partisanship, which manifests in the idea that each side sees the other side as not in disagreement, but an actual clear and present danger to the existence of society, government, and culture, or whatever. Once it reaches that peak point, rationality isn't even in the game anymore. It's just pure raw emotion and group momentum. Yeah, I think that there's some truth to that. Yeah. I mean, remember, this guy's reaction is all based on a lie. This guy's reaction is based on a fabricated lie. It's based on a fabricated lie. As far as any evidence goes, there was never any suggestion that the election was compromised in any way, shape, or form to the degree that it would even remotely constitute widespread election fraud or voter fraud or whatever. Like, at most, it was the par for the usual. At most, it was the usual, and those folks that did it were caught and dealt with. The folks that tried to, circumvent it, the folks that were trying to cast ballots twice, things like that, they were all caught, and they all went down with a felony. It is a bit it's a bit psychotic, that's for sure. Then I mean, like, these people couldn't held out 2 weeks. Here's the thing, I don't know. His real question is, how do I start shooting without interrupting my gym and hair salon access?
Hold on. No, stop. Hold on. Now I'm going to denounce that. I'm going to tell you why.
Here, I just want to be quite frank here. Here's Charlie Kirk, obviously flustered, because he's worried about how this is going to look on him, to be quite frank.
Well, yeah, because these are the chickens coming home to roost,
You're brave
man.
for what you say, and the fact that you stand up there and say it, and I appreciate it. I think we all appreciate it, actually, because there's not a lot of people that have the balls to do it. But I want to ask you something a little bit out of the ordinary, so prepare yourself. At this point, we're living under a corporate and medical fascism. This is tyranny.
Right, and they've been told this over and over and over again. There's no recourse, right? There's no recourse. There's no recourse. The election is rigged. You can't even do that. I mean, like, of course, this is the natural conclusion to the constant propaganda, right-wing propaganda of the likes of Charlie Kirk and like people like Tucker Carlson and things like that.
Guns. No, and I'm not. That's not a joke. I'm not saying it like that. I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal before we kill these people?
I mean, he's really just coming out and saying it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if this guy knows he's on camera here, because this is pretty fucked up.
Like Matt said, this is jarring.
I mean, Charlie Kirk
jarring.
Supported the January 6th events at the Capitol. his organization was involved in getting people.
Right, they've been told this over and over again by corporate media, by people like Charlie Kirk. Oh, look, there's me.
The event. His rhetoric.
Yep, and just like my message said over here, I thought this was a troll. I honestly thought it was somebody just coming in to crash the you know, just to troll Charlie Kirk for the sake of doing it. But no, he's very serious about it. And I was like, wait, holy yikes. I thought this was a troll. No, he really means it. And worst of all is all the people clapping and cheering for it. That's the real problem. And America has been on that path for a long time. The Great Alignment, at least maybe 2-3 decades, it's always been partisan. It's always been a sports game, but now something much more severe. The danger is that it gets out of control and that the group is no longer steered by elites, but instead just becoming a whole monster of its own. And I think we're seeing that now. Maybe so, James Napper. I think that all of this comes down to essentially failure of leadership, a failure of our representatives kicking down problems that have been kind of brewing for decades, never really addressing the roots of any of these problems, and now we are seeing the culmination of that. That's it. Corporate media brooms. Yeah, wait, we've told them to take action against it for decades now, and they're actually talking about doing it. Yeah. Wait, not like that. Yeah, so Turning Point USA had one heck of a gamer moment, that's for sure. Not good. Not good. Not good. I just wanted to make sure that I brought that up again to reiterate just how, like, a divorce from reality portion of the population has become. And to kind of illustrate the idea that I don't know if I buy this. I don't know if I buy this really. I think Trump is the Republican Party. ExxonMobil is using a bizarre Texas rule to harass a California beach city. Sergey Dadina is the mayor of the Imperial Beach, a surfer's haven on the Mexican border that is one of the poorest municipalities in San Diego County. ExxonMobil is the nation's biggest oil company with more than $214 billion in revenue over the last 12 months and nearly 3 times as many employees as the Imperial Beach has residents. So when ExxonMobil pleads in court that Dadina and his city have been engaged in a nearly long-decade conspiracy to stifle its First Amendment of free speech, that's a claim that should make you go, well, it does. Imperial Beach Mayor Dadina, ExxonMobil has made an assertion in the course of its effort to use a bizarre Texas courthouse rule to allow a would-be litigant to demand depositions and documents for potential targets without first filing a lawsuit. The oil company has asked Texas court to order compliance from Dadina and 14 other California municipal officials. What put them on ExxonMobil's enemy list is that they represent California cities and counties that have sued ExxonMobil and other oil companies over the consequences of global warming, which stems from the burning of the company's products. The oil company's demands for depositions and documents are part of the long campaign by the fossil fuel industry to harass and intimidate its critics, rather than meet their criticisms head-on. Yeah, I totally agree with this. I'm not surprised. This is an industry with 30-year history of bullying and harassment and intimidation of its opponents. True. Says Noemi Oreskes, the co-author of the 2010 book Merchants of Doubt. which documented how a network of ad agencies, public relation firms, and conservative groups and corporate beholden scientists have undermined public perception about the dangers of tobacco and global warming. Yeah, this is not surprising at all. Trump is a party in the sense that he has a plurality of support in the party. Right, that's what I mean. Particularly of the evangelical bloc, which is incredibly crucial to the Republican Party. The gridlock of government absolutely helps this for sure. The inaction of government and the small battles that now take place over Supreme Court nominations, tweaks to electoral systems, etc. results in a real sense of panic in the political sphere in the US now, I think. I think most voters or general political actors are now acting on the premise that every choice is do or die, winner takes all, and it probably is fueled by the frustration at the stagnation of Congress. Yeah, because it turns out that, again, like you're saying, and like I said earlier, all of these problems that have been bubbling up for decades, that people remember, we looked to Obama for hope and change, that never came really, and all of these things that have come for decades and decades, just kind of bubbling up, and now we're at this kind of crossroads, right? And yeah, Jesus. It's not good. Not good at all. But it gets caught in a feedback loop, because the more stagnated policymaking becomes, the more frustrated people get, the more partisan they become, and the more they will vote for people who steer even further to the extremes that kill off any future policymaking. It's a runaway train, but Congress didn't work with Obama, especially with gun sense. Yeah, I mean, like, but that's just one issue. I mean, like, something that could really could have really been done, especially when Obama had like the supermajority, or at least a good handle of the majority in the Democratic Party. You know, things such as like healthcare could have been like a thing that he could have been his legacy. Instead of Obamacare, he could have left some type of universal healthcare system as his legacy. Instead, people just were very underwhelmed. The critics' fundamental point is that oil and gas companies systematically concealed what their own scientists knew about the effects of their products on global warming. Meanwhile, they were publishing misleading op-eds and advertisements questioning the connection. That is true. ExxonMobil certainly has succeeded in imposing costs on cities and counties with the impudence to challenge the company in court. What has people concerned is what's next. What's the next strategy? These are companies with unlimited resources, and they've decided to use them against speech communities without these resources. Imperial Beach City is a city of 27,000 residents and has increasingly seen damage from sea level rise in the recent years. We're trying to build a swimming pool, a senior center, and parks and recreation department, but we've been wrecked financially because we've been devastated by coastal flooding, says Adina, who's also an executive director of Wild Coast, a nonprofit that works to protect coastal and marine ecosystems from the effects of global warming. We're paying for the cost of coastal flooding that fossil fuels companies caused and lied about. The California plaintiffs, in addition to Imperial Beach, the counties of San Mateo, Marin, Santa Cruz, and the cities of Richmond, Oakland, and San Francisco, are seeking to force oil and gas companies to compensate them for the cost of sea level rise, among the other consequences of global warming. True. We live in a representative democracy. We have the government we asked for. Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, I think so. The problem starts. The problems become like, well, theoretically, yeah, we have a representative democracy, but doesn't seem to be quite functioning as advertised. The case is pending, but the procedural course is uncertain. In May, the U.S. Supreme Court ordered the Ninth Court of Appeals to reconsider a ruling that returned them to state court after the oil and gas companies got them transferred to federal court. ExxonMobil's response could charitably be described as outlandish. The company asserts that the California lawsuits, along with the cases brought by New York and Massachusetts attorney generals, are the product of a conspiracy hatched at a conference of special interest in La Jolla in June of 2012. The partisan participants advocated for government investigations and litigation against energy companies to pressure the targets to provide support for legislative and regulatory response to global warming. I mean, so you admit then that the reason why even that would need the reason why that even would be necessary is because you're causing it, right? It's kind of a self-report there, right? It's kind of a self-report, right? I think Congress represents people pretty well. Most people do not know or care much about anything. They're just running in the hamster wheel. This is the same for Congress. MTG, for example, is a perfect representation of the average person in her district. I see what you're saying. Their goal, the company asserts, was to coerce ExxonMobil and other operating in the Texas energy sector to adopt policies aligned with those favored by local politicians in California. Today, the company pleads Exxon finds itself directly in that conspiracy's crosshairs. Again, if you aren't the reason for this problem, if you're not the one that's causing all of this climate change and all this other stuff, then that's a really weird thing to say. That's a very weird thing to say. That's certainly not all just born from politicians and bad actors. It's a hard thing for either side to admit. America is divided. There's no single banner they all believe in and trust. There's no steal. There's no big ruse. The people are just different, and that's normally okay until they start talking about Robloxing each other. Yeah, something like that. But public service has been a career for a long time. It wasn't always. Yeah, sure, but you would think public service is to serve the public, but yeah. As Sourcing just said, Congress is doing what Congress is doing. I feel like our government is more representative of corporations that bought the campaigns than the actual people. Well, there's definitely truth to that too, and I think that a lot of people feel that way. So one of the solutions to a lot of these problems when it comes to faults of our representative democracy is more democracy. I think that a moving to a more democratic system would bring about some type of I think better some type of a better groundwork to kind of work with this. Because clearly we've got a lot of problems with this particular system. A look at the official report of La Jolla meeting, which was actually billed as a workshop on climate accountability, public opinion, and legal strategy, should demonstrate the absurdity of those claims. The workshop organizers, including Oreskes, then a professor of history of science at UC San Diego, and Peter Frumoff, chief climate scientist at the Union of Concerned Scientists. Oreskes is now faculty at Harvard. None of the public officials now being targeted by Exxon. Mobil was among the 22 attendees. They were mostly scientists, environmentalists, and university professors. 4 were practicing lawyers. The participants were listed in the report along with a group photograph. If it were a plot, plotters and conspirators don't tend to publish their findings. Yeah. The goal, he says, was to build on what was learned from legal challenges to the tobacco industry to see if it could be applied to the fossil fuel companies. Exxon's fixation on this is a flimsy and shameless effort to divert attention from its own corporate misconduct and apply pressure to local officials who are considering filing lawsuits to try to seek funding to pay for damages from climate change that would not have happened but for the actions of fossil fuel companies like Exxon. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much the TLDR of this. I think that this is a massive self-report from ExxonMobil, especially if they're trying to make the case that, well, you know, maybe it's not that bad. This is a massive self-report, in my opinion. In other climate news, nor'easter, 570,000 people power outages as New England hit by strong winds. All schools on Cape Cod are closed, and Massachusetts Steamship Authority has suspended service until further notice. More than 548,000 homes and businesses in New England and Connecticut were without power Wednesday afternoon as a powerful nor'easter continued its wrath along the East Coast. About 471,389 of those outages were in Massachusetts, the State Emergency Management Agency said after 2:30 p.m. I feel like a lot of these unusual weather incidents are going to be just kind of par for the course, and as climate change progresses, this is just kind of what the norm is going to be. That's just the way it is. The storm has already caused flooding in New York, New Jersey, where emergency services have carried out dozens of rescues. Yikes. Coastal areas of Massachusetts are now bearing the brunt of the storm with reported wind gusts of up to 97 miles per hour that have brought down trees and power lines. Yikes. Lily Rose for Prez, howdy howdy. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I accidentally closed it. Joe Manchin pushes for climate cuts even as West Virginia is battered by crisis. The rise of Joe Manchin as a key powerful player for Democratic policy making in 2021 is the result of the perfect storm for the U.S. Senator from West Virginia. His position as Senate's most conservative Democrat means he often has the final say in what his party is able to push through, especially when it comes to Joe Biden's ambitious domestic agenda on infrastructure, far-reaching social policies, and a powerful attempt to tackle the climate crisis. Like, I guess in the alternative, this would be considered a powerful attempt, but like, the reality is, I mean, just the basics. A drive through West Virginia's countryside, which is still enthusiastic Donald Trump country, reveals a patchwork of communities battered by the climate crisis and barely held together by deteriorating infrastructure. Yet Manchin, balking at $3.5 trillion price tag of Biden's reconciliation bill, is busy trying to strip out many of the policies that would try to tackle these crises that are so seriously affecting many of his fellow West Virginians. Yeah, this is great. Like, keep hammering down the idea. I think this is great. West Virginia, a landlocked state, leads the nation in a number of infrastructure facilities, hospitals, fire stations, water treatment plants, power stations located on land prone to severe flooding. It even beats out Louisiana or Florida. Of course, the climate crisis has seen flood events hit record levels across the U.S. Beyond the inspiration for John Dover's hit song, West Virginia's country roads are actually a source of fear and frustration for residents. Nearly half of the roads in the state are routinely battered by severe flooding. When power outages, some of the longest and most frequent in the nation, hit by state that are often lethal, a reality made clear when a single flood event in 2016 took out power for over half of the state's home and killed 23 people in 12 hours. Earlier this year, tens of thousands of people were left without power for more than 2 weeks in freezing temperatures when ice storms felled trees onto power lines across the state and closed roads. But for many West Virginians, the reality of flooding and infrastructure failure are more insidious than isolated events. For Jill Hess, it's trying to make it back to Fairmont, her hometown, and birthplace of Joe Manchin every time there's talk of a storm. For the past 5 years, Hess has made it a priority to see to it that her mother, Sue Hess, who was surviving on oxygen concentrators, wasn't stranded powerless and alone. Every time it would rain or snow, she would go into panic mode. Jill said that growing up, outages weren't frequent, but as her mother grew older and weaker, so has the power grid. Despite spending over $1 billion trying to prevent the grid from failing, the frequency and duration of outages have steadily increased as temperature of the earth has risen, causing places like West Virginia to experience increased storm activity. I can't tell you how many times she would say, "I need you to be ready and available if anything happens because we have a severe thunderstorm warning coming through." Jill would hop in her car and drive to her mother, dependent on oxygen machines in Fairmont. But with the storms in West Virginia come road closures, shutting down most direct routes to any given place. Adding 15 minutes to be rerouted in around the mountain felt like 15 hours to Jill, knowing her mother was running out of oxygen. For Jill, there's a cruel irony to how her mother spent her final years, who has been a home health nurse, traveling across the country to help people who couldn't make it to the hospital. In 1968, she traveled to nearby Farmington, a 375-person town, to take care of wounded survivors of the Farmington mine disaster. In the floods of 1985 that killed 38 people across the state, Sue had gone from house to house, helping provide medical assistance and supplies to families whose livelihood had been devastated by the flooding. Now, despite having retired in a nice home less than a mile away from the same hospital which she had completing her nursing program, Sue found herself helpless. She relied on a combination of asking her daughter to drive in and calling 911 for ambulance rides to take her somewhere else she couldn't breathe. Before she died, Sue racked up a 4-figure ambulance bill nearly every time the power went out. Jesus. They would just literally park her in the waiting room of the ER on oxygen until it was clear that the power came back on. The average outage in the state lasts for 11 hours, the second highest in the nation. Jesus. I just read an article that it would take $2 billion to remove the lead in Michigan. Holy yikes. That's, wow. True. True. Joe Manchin. The 5 years of needless suffering her mother was put through before she died in December comes down to infrastructure for Jill. What she finds especially frustrating is that Manchin isn't detached from this reality. It's the one he grew up in. Before he was a politician, the Hess family used to get Christmas cards from the Manchins. Jill has no doubt that Manchin knows exactly how hard climate change is making life for the people he grew up around. Yeah. Joe Manchin, everybody. President Joe Manchin. Yeah, not sure how we could ever come up with $2 billion. I guess we'll just have to deal with generations of lead poisoning. Right. Exactly. It's just not possible. Oh, wait. Maybe we could do an infrastructure project and literally print the money. Yeah. But that would require people, that would require our government to do the right thing. That's really what it is. That would require Joe Manchin to do the right thing. I think we talked about this earlier, but just kind of the icing, the last icing on the cake.
Eve of his trip to Europe. Major headline on President Biden's domestic agenda on the eve of his trip to Europe. Word coming in late today that a key part of the bill, and a popular one, paid family and medical leave, may now be out. Senator Joe Manchin against it. Rachel Scott on the Hill.
As Democrats scramble to make a deal before President Biden heads out to Europe, tonight, word his plan for paid family and medical leave will likely be out of the final bill. It's something to the people. But Manchin is dug in. He's
working women and working parents. If we go down to zero paid family leave, that's not okay. That's unjust to the people.
But Manchin is dug in. He's also made it clear he's not on board with a plan to pay for the massive package by taxing billionaires on assets like their stock market gains.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like the connotation that we're targeting different people.
But Manchin does support a plan to impose a 15%.
Targeting different people? What? The trouble is people like Joe mostly, and honestly most of the boomers in Congress have no idea how our monetary system actually works because they're all stuck in a pre-1970 models of 1970s mode of thinking. Yeah. That video of the person who confronted Joe Manchin that they played on the Majority Report ruined my day. Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly frustrating. Alright folks, the Mald session is over. So yeah, that's the icing on the cake, folks. We can't even get, President Joe Manchin to agree to tax billionaires. Something that should be just kind of like, the universal, oh yeah, we should do that. Yeah, we should, we should tax every living shit out of them. Yeah. But we can't even be bothered to do that. We can't even be bothered to do that. That's unbelievably frustrating, that's for sure. This 15% minimum tax rate isn't being communicated very well. Yeah, so I think that the idea is to set a baseline so that corporations can't escape from paying X, right? Is that it? They set what would be a minimum base where corporations can't escape from paying X, and that's how they're gonna try to kind of do it. Honestly, I don't see the problem. I don't see the problem. Just tax the ever-living crap out of billionaires and big corporations and be done with it. I don't get it. Reorganize our priorities and as I understand it, the line is for this 15% minimum is set on the profits corporation reporting to shareholders instead of what they report to the government after deductions. Right, so the idea is to make sure that they can't escape on paying X amount. At least how I understand it. Which is good, but then it should just be that whatever you report to shareholders is your actual profits. Stop letting these corporations lie. They're necessarily committing fraud when they are they're necessarily committing fraud when they do this either to shareholders or to the government. I see. Yeah, I don't get why it's so hard to like make sure that these folks pay taxes. Like I don't get it. Like tax the shit out of them. I don't know. So, this isn't like a new concept either. This isn't a new concept. Alright folks, that is all the time I have today. In other words, that is, we made it. We did it. We made it through all the headlines. We got all the news out of the way. I know it was a bit of a mauled session, but I really do think it's important to kind of be aware of these issues, and I think that especially if you live in West Virginia or Arizona, that you probably should contact your senator. You probably should contact President Joe Manchin. You probably should contact Madam President Kyrsten Sinema. Organize yourselves, because clearly it's gonna it's gonna be rough. But it isn't 11:30 yet. True. I just took it slow. All right, I'm not in a hurry to log off. I'm not in a rush. Okay, we did it. We went slow. We even got a 20-minute majority report clip. We took it slow. We got everything done. I think that was great. Alright folks, don't forget, I don't know if I'm gonna make this like another thing. Maybe if you guys like the late night show, we'll do something like that at some point. Please make sure, first of all, a big thank you to the new follow, Texas Leftist, the awesome support that you guys have given. I have not forgotten. Thank you, Alio, for yesterday. 12 months, man. Thank you so much. Skitterdeer with a Prime subscription. Heat420 with a gifted subscription. Thank you so much. And of course, have a fun evening stream. Catch you later. Thank you so much. And of course, please make sure you follow all the wonderful folks with the little diamond next to them. So make sure you follow Hildebeest. Make sure you follow Heat420_. Make sure you follow Sourcing Support. There's wonderful folks in chat. I appreciate all of you guys. As always, oh, and on your way out, don't forget, hit that follow button. We're here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. This was just a special evening stream. So not the usual time, but I appreciate you guys hanging out here. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya! Dog Wrangler. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Let's see who we can go to. You know what? Let's go to Riverboat Jack. Hang tight with us, folks. Alright, folks, we're heading over in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. See ya.